another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all doing very well. Today, tag video, excited. Don't often do a tag video, and when I do, I feel excited about it. Today is the book addiction tag. Now, I've seen this on both Leanne Rose's channel and on Lauren Wade Reed's channel. I've been tagged in it, but I thought I'd do it anyway because it's very exciting. And it's lots and lots of books, There's going to be lots and lots of books spoken about. It's lots of questions about books and what it's like to be addicted to books. So yeah, 14 questions. I suppose we'll just get cracking on. I loved watching these because I love hearing about people's book buying habits and their relationship with books, etc. Let's get on with it. Question number 1 is, what is the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book? And honestly, I would say overnight. Like, I have to have a book on the go. So time between me like finishing a book and starting my next book would never be more than like a night's sleep. So if I like finished a book that night, good night, went to bed, in the morning I'd be thinking, what book am I going to take to work with me? What am I going to pick up now? Like in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth, I read books anyway. So I would need a new book on the go straight away. And also that's picking up books, but I listen to audiobooks as I go to sleep as well. So there is never, and I listen to audiobooks sometimes on the way to work as well. So yeah, realistically, the answer is overnight. It's never going to go longer than overnight. Question 2 is, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or a device, at any one time? So this used to be 2, and I would probably still consider it to be 2 if I was at the end of my current book thinking, oh well, I'm going to need another book to get started on. But now I've got it down to 1. Like, I don't leave the house without a book. Like, if I was going for a walk, maybe I would leave without a book, but I've always got my phone on me, which has always got audiobooks on it. But with a physical book, like even like David and I went to Leeds Castle the weekend just gone. I took a book with me then because I was like, well, if there's ever a point when David's in the toilet or like we sit down for a bit, I'll always get a book out. Sometimes, like if he gets out the car to get petrol, I get a book out and have a read. Then like there's always going to be an opportunity for me to read. Even like when I go to my mum and dad's house or something for dinner, there's a bit of downtime. Not in a rude way, not in a way where I'm like, all right, mum and dad, shush now. But I always have a book with me just in case. Question number 3, do you keep every book you buy or receive, or are you happy to pass them on to make space for more? I am more than happy to pass them on to make space for more, and there's a few ways I do this. So the books behind me, are books that I haven't yet read in the main. Sometimes there'll be a few that I've kept on these shelves that I have read, but very little, like mainly these are unread. The top shelf, which you can't see, that's my favourite. So any books that score 5-star or are a 4-star and I think that's got growing potential, I'll stick on the top. And then books that fall below a 5-star or potentially, unless I've got a series of them, I pop them in a little cupboard by my front door, and every so often I'll take a photo of them and send them to my friends if I'm seeing a group of friends and say, does anyone want any of these? I also donate books to charity bookstores and stuff. My sister works in a secondary school, so I give her quite a lot of YA things that she can put, YA books that she can put in the library at her school. So yeah, there's a number of ways I get rid of them. I've given them to you guys before. I've done little book treasure hunts down the seafront near where I live, put little notes on them and said, oh, I've finished with this book, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. Yeah, I've got to do another one of those actually, because I really enjoyed doing that, and then I tried to do it at Christmas and it rained and ruined everything. So yeah, I need to do that again. Number 4, how long would you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? This is difficult because I don't know if there's such a thing as a standard visit to a bookshop. If I was going on my own, I could be in there hour plus just having a lovely time browsing, and I really do have a lovely time browsing. Like I start like and just work my way around, but quite often my book I very rarely go shopping at all, and if I was to go book shopping, I'd probably be with a friend or booktubers or David. If I'm with like friends, then maybe just as long, because we'd be chatting about things and showing each other books and things like that. If I'm with David, starts getting a sulk on, don't he? Not a big sulk on, but he's like, had enough. Once he's had a look at like picture books, once he's had a look at his stuff, he starts thinking, oh, is it time to go now? So yeah, I mean, if it was me, upwards of like, there's no, I haven't an answer for that question. Number 5, how much time per day do you actually spend reading? So yeah, I had to sort of like split this into bits. So weekdays, when I'm at work, I would say I spend about 90 minutes reading physical books. Like I said, I read when I wake up in the morning and when I'm brushing my teeth. I try and take about at least 20 minutes for lunch every day, just to get away from my desk and read. Even that makes like sitting out the back of the building where I work, or if I'm working from home, coming and sitting on the sofa just to get away from the screen for a bit. So I always fit in 20 minutes. And then if I have a bath of an evening, I read for about 30 minutes in the bath. I read for about 30 minutes when I go to bed. So it could be more. But it will never probably drop below about 90 minutes physical reading. On the weekend, I would say upwards of 2 hours. Again, it depends what we're doing. If we've got friends and stuff around, I won't do it. But like I said, like if I'm going, like if we were going out for dinner or something, I would still take a book with me, because like if David nips to the loo or something like that, I can always get a book out. So upwards of 2 hours. But then if we're factoring in audiobooks, that sort of like would double it for both situations. I listen to audiobooks on the way home from work when I'm driving, and at the moment, because I'm in an office by myself, and I've been working from home, I've been listening to audiobooks aloud if I'm not doing sort of phone work or typing work that I need to use these here ears for. If I'm just cracking on with something on the screen, I'll listen as well. So yeah, yeah, that's how much. So 90 minutes reading as a minimum during the week, and 2 hours reading if I'm off. I mean, some days, I mean, you've seen vlogs of mine, some days I'll read like 8 hours in a day, which is lovely. But most of my reading is done in sort of like short stints. I rarely sit and sort of just read for like 2 hours non-stop. Number 6, where does the task picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? Well, I mean, it's always on there. I have a full-time job, so that has to, my work has to come first, and eating and things like that. Although saying that, I would still like at the weekend when we have lunch and stuff, David puts his headphones on and watches something, and I would eat and read at the same time. Eat and read. Yeah, so I don't know where it stands on a to-do list. It always gets done, so does that mean it stands quite high? And it's always on there, so maybe quite high. How many books do you reckon you own in total? I reckon it's over 400, but I don't know specifically. Last time I did the count of this, it was 330 something, because I remember I guessed and I got it exactly right, which is spoopy. So that was about 300, but I got rid of a lot of books after that, but I've definitely got a lot more in. So behind me on these shelves, I reckon there's about 300 books on these shelves. I've got 20 of these little cubes, like if I include the top ones, and each of them have got about 15 in. So I'd say there's about 300 books behind me. But then I've also got a bookshelf in my bedroom which has new releases on, so things that haven't come out yet. I've got a bookshelf in my bathroom which has books under 100 pages, and there's a lot on there. And then I've also got my book trolley which has book haul books that I'm reading at the moment, books that I've put aside for tag videos and stuff like that. It's actually a complete mess at the moment, so I've got to sort that out. I might film a video doing that, actually, sorting out my book trolley. Yeah, so I reckon upwards of 400. Approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? Well, to be honest, quite a lot, like, because people know that books are my #1 love. Quite often, like, people will ask me like if I've read anything good recently, or what have I read this, or adaptations of stuff that are on telly or films and stuff come up a lot. Like, I always ask people, like, if people have been on holiday, I always say, oh, did you read anything? Like, so quite a lot. I would say I definitely talk about books a lot, and like people at work know me for reading as well, so they'll ask me about what I've been reading, or they've just read this and things like that. So definitely, like, if I'm seeing someone, books would probably come up A lot, I guess. A lot is the answer. I can't tell you how often, but yeah, a lot. What is the biggest book in page count you've finished reading? I've got a feeling this is probably Gone with the Wind. I don't have it now, but I think that's over 1,000 pages, and I've got a feeling that's probably the longest book that I've read. I haven't read it for many, many years. I read it, God, probably about 12 years ago maybe, but I think that's the longest one. Question 10 is there a book you had to get your hands on against all odds? Searched a bookstore, online digging, stalked an author, etc. Well, until like very, very recently, I would say no to that, because I'm quite happy to have like mismatched series and secondhand books and things like that, and I don't often look for like specific editions. However, I've just watched Emma from Drinking by My Shelf do her Anne of Green Gables readathon. By the way, if you're not subscribed to Emma, you absolutely should be. I'm sure you are. She does the most amazing like 24-hour readathons, reading loads of books in one weekend, etc. And the most recent one I've watched is her reading Anne of Green Gables, which I've never considered reading before, but she had such a fun time reading it. It looked like, I was thinking, I'm going to get Anne of Green Gables and read that. Maybe not the whole series, but definitely start with the first one. And I knew there was a series of books whereby, and I'll insert the cover of the Anne of Green Gables one here, and then maybe another one, because I'll have to find out what they're actually called, which are sort of like classics with a female like main character, and on the cover their hair is like laid out all big, and I remember seeing that. I can't remember who had these books. I've only seen it on BookTube. Maybe Sana or maybe Jean, I don't know. Somebody had a few of these books, and I was like, these are the most beautiful editions ever, but none of the titles really caught my eye, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I'd read Heidi, or I already had another copy of another one, but I knew that there was an Anne of Green Gables one because I remember her big red fiery hair. So I was like, well, if I'm going to get this, if I'm going to read Anne of Green Gables, I need to find this edition of it, because I wanted to own one of these editions with the hair on, and haven't been able to do that. So until this week, I would say no, but I have been searching it out, and I found it on Waterstones, so I'm going to be ordering it from there. So yeah, hopefully it's that one that arrives, because imagine if like you just bought an edition of Anne of Green Gables and then another one turned up. Oh, you'd be heartbroken, wouldn't you? Especially if I wanted that one. But yeah, that is an example of that happening to me. It's never happened before, but this week it has. 11, is there a book you struggle to finish because you refuse to DNF? So I used to be a slave to the not DNFing, and would never do that, but now I'm just like, if I'm not enjoying it, see you later. However, there are a few sort of exceptions to that rule. I run a book club, Patreon book club. I run a book club at work as well, which I wouldn't hesitate to give up on the book there. But as I run a Patreon book club, which people kindly pay to take part in, I would always finish the book that is put forward for that, because I want to have a whole picture of the book. I want to be able to ask questions about the whole book. So that's the only situation in which I force myself to read the book. Now, I don't often have to force myself to finish the book, because quite often I enjoy the books that we read. However, there has been one this year that I have not enjoyed, and it was The Glass Blowers by Daphne du Maurier. It breaks my heart to even say that I did not enjoy it, and would have given it 0 stars. Could that be an option? But I really had to force myself to finish that book. It was just dry, like a history book, and just none of the sort of beautiful description and sensuality that I associate with Daphne's writing. It was just like, you could in a double page you would cover about 50 years of history. Oh, it just wasn't for me at all. So yeah, that is one. Number 12, what are some of your main book goals for next year? Love thinking about next year already in August. So yeah, I've been pretty chill with my reading this year. I didn't set myself many goals, and I'd quite like to continue that going forward, being a bit more chill still, and sort of like reading as I wish, or like sometimes when I set myself rules, I'm not very good at sticking to those rules. I've done it before where I've had a TBR jar where I've put all of my books in a jar and then picked one out and had to read that every month, and I stick to it for a little bit and then I don't. And like, for someone who loves lists, it's weird how much I don't want to stick to that when it comes to my reading. I think it's because it's such a joy to me. I like to make it as fun as I can, and as chill as I can, and I've definitely done that this year. I want to continue to read diversely. I feel like I've made much more of an effort with that recently, and I want to continue reading much more diversely. And similar answer to what Lauren said, actually, she wants to read some more translated fiction, and that's something that I always seem to fall down on. I always feel like I read much more than I do, so that's definitely something I'd like to have a little look at as well. Number 13, have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader? And I would, again, this is a similar answer to Lauren, is like David had never read a book before we met. And now he reads about 5 books a year, which panics me, because the thought of reading 5 books a year, like, how would you pick those 5 books? But he loves reading 5 books a year. And yeah, one of the biggest joys of my life is seeing David sitting down with a book, and particularly like chuckling along with the book or anything. He read Queenie this year, which was one of my favourite books from last year, and he loved it. Black Flamingo is a book that we've both read and loved this year as well, which is really fun when we both read and love something. But yeah, he had never read a book before we met, so that is definitely an accomplishment. And the last one is describe what books mean to you in 5 words. And I've gone quite punchy and to the point here, in that they are my favourite thing. They really are my favourite thing. They provide me such comfort and joy and happiness, and they educate me. I mean, this is going into more than 5 words, but yeah, them being my favourite thing. Like, I've been listening to a lot of Desert Island Discs recently, which is a podcast, it's a radio show on Radio 4 here in the UK, where the host interviews, I mean, you may well have heard of it, the host interviews celebrities and people of note, and asks them to list some records that they take away to a desert island with them. And part of that, part of the podcast, is that at the end they're allowed to pick one book. They get a copy of the Bible or a religious text, and the full works of Shakespeare, and they get to take another book. And I always love hearing that bit. That's one of my favourite bits to hear. So it does stress me out a bit, thinking, like, how can you just pick one book? I would like to do a sort of Desert Island Discs with 6 books. Hello, idea alert. Maybe I could do something like that with some guests. That would be exciting, wouldn't it? So yeah, that's the book addiction tag. Really enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed writing the questions down, having to think about them, and then chatting it through with you. Let me know down below if you have done this tag or any of your answers to the questions. I will write the questions down below, so you can pick and answer some of those if you like. And yeah, I'll see you all again soon for another Richie video. Goodbye!